morning from sunny Ottawa. Yeah, it's raining. I'm Gerry Brinkman, and this is BereanNation.com. This morning, from my devotions, I read from Joshua chapter 11. In verse 11 it says, talking about the children of Israel, it says, they struck every person who was in it. That's, a certain city that they came against. They struck every person who was in it with the edge of the sword, utterly destroying them. There was no one left who breathed. Now, I assume this is one of those passages where people think they can accuse God of being a murderous psychopath. Kind of makes sense. They slaughtered, all of the men, all of the women, all of the children. Yeah, I don't think I can agree with that. That doesn't make any sense, their accusation at all. And I'll tell you why. A normal and plain reading of the passage will tell you a couple of things. First of all, it was these guys that were slaughtered with the edge of the sword that gathered to attack in the first place. Talked a little bit about it in a different video, but really they were afraid of what the children of Israel would do to them. So they gathered up as many men as they could, and it says in this passage that they were as the sand of the sea. So that's a whole lot. A lot of people without number kind of thing. They are the ones who gathered to attack. Now, you can maybe make an argument about, well, yeah, that was the response against the invaders into their land. These guys were a bunch of city-states. Legitimately, the only ones that they should have been worried about were themselves. And one particular city, the Gibeonites, actually sued for peace and got it. So who's to say that if they had not sued for peace, they wouldn't have got it? So these guys were the hostiles here. Now, the next thing that you notice is that they were gathered to do exactly the same thing to the people of Israel. If these gentlemen had been victorious in their quest, as it were, I have no doubt that they would have slaughtered all Israel, men, women, children, completely. And third, and it doesn't say so specifically in the verse that I talked about, but it does talk about it in the text. The reason for, the wholesale slaughter is actually the protection of human genetics. There were giants in Canaan. Now, Genesis chapter 6 talks about how the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were very fair, so they changed their form, kind of like taking off a coat, if you will, so that they could be with them, and this produced offspring. And these offspring were the, quote, men of renown. Hey, where do you think Hercules and guys like that came from? I've discovered over time that in a myth, there is some little kernel of fact somewhere. I think this is the fact behind a lot of those myths. So, it's evidence of demonic interjection into the human race. And it actually talks about it in verse 21 here. Verse 21, it says, Then Joshua came at that time and cut off the Anakim from the hill country, from Hebron, etc. The Anakim were giants. Giantism is actually a demonic interjection into the human genome. Go figure. Without sort of going sideways and sounding weird like some of these guys, you have to ask yourself what you believe. Do you believe that the cosmos is just a big box with a bunch of chemicals in it that somehow, miraculously, all came together in the proper order, in the proper sequence, at the proper time to make everything? Or do you believe that there was some kind of intervention from outside the box? The problem with confining yourself to just being in the box is that that's all you've got. There's an amount of energy required, there's an amount of time required, you have all kinds of restrictions that time can't answer. Never mind the second law of thermodynamics. But if you can have an intervention from outside the box, all of a sudden everything works. What was that intervention from outside the box? Bet I know. So, if you want to accuse God of being a murderous psychopath, and if you want to accuse his chosen servants as being politically motivated to hide the truth of history, quote unquote, then I think you have to answer some very, very serious questions. One of those questions is, are there beings we cannot see normally? If you answer no, well, you're living in the box. If you answer yes, you've allowed the possibility that there are things that we do not understand, things that we do not know about, things that maybe we cannot grasp with our limited capacity. And if you're among those people, welcome to the Berean Nation, where we study the scriptures daily to see if these things are so.